Hey guys, what's up? Wally with Beach River Landscapes. Another question I get is about operating expenses and net profit. So we're going to jump into that. I'm just going to tell you guys the experiences that we have had over the last 13 years and just reasons why one can go up and one can go down and kind of be all over the place. All right? Alright guys, so let's start from the beginning and we'll jump to now. I don't want to make this too crazy. It can get really confusing if you're new to understanding net profit, if you're new to understanding business expenses and things like that. So if you haven't checked out my other video about starting over, you can check that out. And it'll kind of give you an idea where I was when I started out. So where I started out was a very rare thing, and it was awesome. It was great. I was given a bunch of lawns and I grabbed some equipment. I bought some stuff that was really cheap. I got some stuff that was free, that was used, and I fixed it and I made it work. I was given about 40 accounts, so I started off pretty strong. I consider it really strong. I was by myself. I did have to buy a truck, and I did get a used trailer from somebody. I can't remember. I got a really cheap used trailer, and I did have to finance my first truck. I ended up, picking up 40 lawns, and then before the end of the year, ended up buying out another lawn care company. Let's go until I bought out that other lawn company. That first year, when I first started, the 40 lawns, it was $4,000 to $6,000 a month is what that was bringing in. I did have a truck payment. I had to go get a truck. I think it was around $350 a month at the time, talking 13 years ago. So it was about $350 to $400 a month. Like I said, I got the equipment, and I bought a used mower, bought a used trailer, but I was bringing in some pretty good money, and my expenses, my monthly expenses, other than my truck, after the initial buying the trailer and a used mower, were pretty much nothing except for maintenance items like blades, string, gas, and oil. So that first year up until buying out another lawn business was a really great year starting out profit-wise. So with my truck payment and with all the monthly expenses and gas and everything, all the math that I did, I was probably running about 15% business expenses. So I was doing really well with my net profit. So your business expenses, of course, is what it sounds like. That's everything. That's everything that it takes to run your business. That's the taxes it takes to run your business. That's, any payroll, anything that you have to buy, equipment, leasing stuff, repairs, maintenance, everything. So operating expenses. So I was doing really good in the beginning, probably, like I said, about 15%, sometimes less than that. So with a $350 car payment plus expenses, I was about 10 to 15%. Operating cost was about right there. So my net profit was pretty significant in the beginning. But of course that net profit, ended up paying for personal bills and things like that. The net profit after taxes and everything else, was over 50%. Now, as I moved on, bought out another lawn business, took a second mortgage on the house. There goes another $550 a month, but you're adding $8,000 more into the mix plus a month. So you're talking I added 2 guys. I think I brought in like 1 or 2 guys. One guy in the beginning because it was during the fall, and then the summertime brought in another guy. So the operating expenses definitely went up. I ended up getting about 40 grand worth of equipment though, trailers, all that stuff. So I ended up adding all that on one truck. Didn't need a second truck yet, so I was still really good at that point. The operating expenses did go up though, with the employees and all the added fuel, all the added maintenance on the other mowers and everything. I definitely hit my 30. So I was a little over 30% operating expenses. My net profit was still doing good though. I was probably around 30, probably about 30% with net profit, which was awesome. Still did really, really well. Then as going on, bought out another lawn company, which brought in another 150 grand a year. That ended up adding another truck. Just bought another used truck, pretty cheap for like 4,000 bucks. So that truck was there. I already had all the equipment, already had all the trailer. So only thing we had to do was add employees. So ended up adding a few more employees with the added income from buying out this lawn company. For the first year, had to pay them $5,000 to $10,000 a month. So my expenses for that portion of the business, for the business as a whole, if you combine both trucks and you take the entire business, operating expenses was probably, it was closer to like 60%. Net profit was closer to like 5 to 10%, lucky at 10%. Once that business was paid off though, the net profit jumped back up, probably 25, 35%. So it was a really good net profit. So I was making good money. My expenses, because I started making more money, my expenses kind of leveled down around the 30, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on employees and mishaps, things like that. But my net profit, and my business expenses kind of, that was a moment where they were about 30 and 30, and that was really good for me. So did really well. Starting over was a totally different thing. So when I started over, ended up having nothing to work with, had a few clients left over, and so I had to go finance stuff. I couldn't find any deals. I didn't have any capital. I had no capital. Nobody gave me lawns or anything like that. So more real world stuff, more realistic stuff. As your first, they give you 5 years. The IRS gives you, and the government gives you about 5 years to file losses in your business because it can take a long time, and to do really well. So the more realistic scenario, starting over, had to finance a truck, finance a trailer, finance new equipment, financed everything because I had no capital. What Leah had, she invested, she helped out with things. So there were things that we bought cash, but primarily we financed everything to start Beach River Landscapes. So starting out with Beach River Landscapes, the operating expenses with all of the payments versus what I was making, I had zero net profit for probably a good 6 months. I had just zero net profit. 6 to 8 months, zero net profit. And the business expenses, I mean, it was everything. It was like 100%. I was just making what it cost to run the business. And that's where I bring in the whole thing with supplemental income, having a spouse, somebody, a girlfriend or a partner, somebody that you live with, that can supplement, your personal bills in your home, cell phone bill, rent, mortgage, all that stuff. Once I started building up and getting more clients, then comes down the percentage, the business expenses started coming down, the percentage, and the net profit started to inch up a little bit. So in order, obviously, to get your net profit up is to make more money, but you have to be careful how you do that. If you get too much business the wrong way, you're operating the same. Like your business expenses can be through the roof and you're not making any money. You can make $200,000 a year, $500,000 a year, and make 2% net profit, and everything is going into running that business. Been there, so I'm going to tell you. So here's a scenario. So once things started going good, started picking up commercial accounts and all that stuff. Here's where so for the business expenses were through the roof, for the first probably 2 years. And then as you're adding employees, you're picking up business, but you keep adding employees and your net profit just isn't there. You just have to start getting smart and creative with ways to save money on your maintenance. Obviously, I do mostly everything myself. You know, you'll see me post stuff, but mostly I take things and I do them myself. I save the money. I'll try to buy aftermarket parts. I've had awesome luck with that. I'll just do anything to save, money on the expenses side. But here's where it can get hard when you're a small business trying to grow in the commercial field. Say we got one truck. It's full. You got 5 employees, 1 truck. It's all done. Now you got two condos want you to start. Okay, crap. I need another truck. I need another trailer, and I need some more employees. So say these places cost $10,000 a month for 2 condos, right? $10,000 a month. You're going to need another truck and trailer. That's $1,000 a month right there. You're going to need at least 2 or 3 more guys, probably around $6,000 a month. You're at $7,000 a month right there with employees, another truck and trailer. Out of that $10,000, that's 70% business expense before you add in belts. Blades, gas, fuel, like any of that stuff before you add any of it. So here's a scenario that happens where as a whole, you're running 30%, you're about 15 to 20%, you bring on $10,000 more dollars, but you have to add more guys, your business expenses go up, your net profit starts to dip a little bit, but you have to just maintain it. You just have to be very smart about it. So how we figured it out was our business expenses did go up a little bit. Our net profit dropped down, a little bit, maybe more to the, 5 to 10%. But it sustained and it paid for itself, and we weren't spending any money out of our pockets to run it. So you get to that point, you're like, bam, all right, we got this second truck, it's self-sustained, it's paying for itself. You get creative. Instead of hiring 4 more guys you can't afford, you figure things out. I'm gonna go by myself, I'm gonna go do all hedges on this property by myself this day. I want all 7 of you to punch this property out over here, or I want 4, you gotta figure out creative ways to do things. But what happens is your business expenses are really high, your net profit is very low, but the 2 trucks are now paying for themselves, and the next move is net profit coming back up. Went out and you get more properties. Fill up the rest of that week. You may have to maybe bring in another guy, but say you fill it up with 3 more properties, you're at another $10,000, $15,000 a month. You may have to spend about $2,000 of that on maybe a couple of extra guys or just 1 extra guy, to $3,000 for like 2 guys, you know what I mean? But that's just $2,000 or $3,000 out of that extra $10,000 or $15,000 that you just added in that same week on that truck. That just brought your net profit way up. Way up. Your business expenses bumped a little bit, but your net profit came way up. So that's just like scenarios that works like with us and with our business. Now, once those 2 trucks maintain and they level themselves out, you start paying off equipment, you know what I mean? You're still left with your payroll. You're still left with all of the fuel maintenance stuff that happens every month. But as your net profit comes up, you take that money, you be smart, you pay down your mower payments, you know what I mean? You pay down your trailer payments. You take that, you don't enjoy your net profit until you pay your expenses down. So once you pay that down, you get rid of $1,000 a month in 1 truck and 1 car, 1 trailer payment, you know what I mean? Boom, your net profit comes up. Pay off the mower. You know what I mean? Next, there goes your net profit. Enjoy the net profit later. Your business expenses, say they're at 30, 35, you jump from 2 to 5, now you're up to 15 and 20% because you paid off all of these mowers and you paid off all of this stuff. If you don't have anything to finance and you just happen to have all of this equipment, then you're in heaven, But realistically, situations like ours where you're expanding, it's easier, like I said, just adding like 1 guy because you picked up a few yards. But when you pick up an entire 30-acre condo association, you can't just add 1 guy. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're adding that, and that's creating a second truck, your business expenses just raised your blood pressure through the roof, and your net profit just made you double check your heart rate every day. So, but you just have to be creative, find ways to level them out. Always keep in mind your business expenses and your net profit. So really need to keep in touch with where you're operating, how you're operating. Last year, 2019, I think we did really good. Our business expenses were a little less than 30%. Our net profit was closer to 30%. It was beautiful. It was great. This year, I don't know what it's going to look like. I want the numbers to keep increasing on the net profit side. Your business expenses, that's just, your business expenses definitely, for me, is on the forefront. That's what's more important. Of course, you got to make sure your net profit is paying your bills and you have money, but your business expenses, technically your business expenses are paying your bills, but you want to have fun, or you want to save money, or you want to pay down things. Your net profit's important, but your business expenses, that is something that you really need to grip and you need to get a hold of. Because of that will end up determining, where you are with your net profit. But don't get scared whenever your net profit is higher than your business expenses typically are going to be higher than your net profit, if you're constantly growing. If you're not growing and you get to a sustainable place, you get everything paid down, you have you just don't have any bills other than maintenance and insurance, your typical monthly things that you have to pay for no matter what. That is ideally the best spot in lawn and landscape to be in. Not having to buy new equipment, you're not financing trucks or anything. Your net profit is way up here because you're not paying all that stuff, and you have your typical business expenses that you need to allocate for that are not going to change. They'll go up and down. You had to buy 2 boxes of blades this month instead of 1. You had to buy 4 rolls of string. You had to buy weed killer. Everything fluctuates, but you want to keep a good average. You want to pick a goal, keep a good average of that. And when you do go to expand, if you do, you have to make sure that your business expenses, even though they're going to go up here, that it does not cause a negative profit or profit loss, that your net profit is not, negative. So you're not, operating in a profit loss like that. That first year, I was pretty much in profit loss, you know what I mean? But it was kind of just dead even. There were times where Leah had to compensate. She had to fill in the financial gaps to where the business expenses running at 100% was just choking it out. But like I said, having that help, having that supplemental income is important just to get you through it. Once we got past that, we didn't need it. Everything was great. But just don't be a person that goes out, because I can even have that tendency. I want this, I want this, I want this. You can want all this stuff. You can want the moon. You can want everything. You need to think. You need to listen to that person that's doing the books. If it's not you, if it is you, you need to talk to yourself. What is this going to do to my net profit? What is this going to do to my operating costs? Like, what is this going to do? Is it worth it? Is it worth jumping up to 40, 50% operating costs with no net profit because I want this backhoe that I'm going to use twice this year? Or is it better to just rent one as I need it? You know what I'm saying? I've done the same thing, I've done the same thing, man. Done the same thing. You just have to be very smart. The smarter that you are, the more money you're going to make. And I know that's self-explanatory. I see intelligent guys out here that don't operate with any smarts, and be honest with you. And they have great opportunities and great potential, but because they have to buy everything that they lay their eyes on, they end up not being able to afford it, and that's how most businesses just fall flat to the ground. Their business expenses so far exceed what they can afford. They never make a profit, and then you end up just going bankrupt or just doing something else. You guys let me know where you're operating. It's just a choice where you want to go. You want to have employees, you want to do large commercial properties, or do you just want to inch it along and just do residential, grab 5 here, 2 there, 2 there? And that's definitely, that slower pace of growing can kind of help you manage your business expenses and your profit or profit loss better than going, oh, by the way, hun, we need to add a whole other truck and employees next week. You know what I mean? That would give her heart attacks sometimes, trying to figure out how we're going to keep our business expenses manageable instead of them going through the roof and us losing all of our profit. But it depends. Take a risk, figure out where you want to go, what your goal is, knuckle down, do what you got to do. Just do what you got to do. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what your first year in business was like. What were your operating expenses? What was your net profit? And where are you at right now? All right, y'all. Peace out.